It was a quiet afternoon at the ranch when Karen struck again, this time targeting my wife. She had called the cops, claiming my wife was dangerous for carrying a firearm on our property. Karen seemed to believe that the HOA had the authority to police who could carry on private property, completely ignoring the laws governing self-defense and licensed firearm ownership. What she didn't know was that my wife wasn't just licensed. She had been appointed as the new chief of police in our county. I was monitoring the ranch cameras when the alert came in. Karen was outside, waving her phone and shouting about public safety and illegal gun possession. She seemed to think she could provoke a response from law enforcement against my wife. I glanced at my wife, who was calmly working in the barn, completely aware of Karen's antics and fully prepared to respond if necessary. I activated the ranch's PA system. "Karen, you are trespassing on private property and making false claims regarding firearm use. Cease all actions and leave immediately, or law enforcement will document your behavior." Karen ignored the warning, pacing aggressively along the driveway and shouting into her phone. "This is a safety violation. Someone call the cops. She's armed," she yelled. What she didn't know was that the local deputies were fully aware of my wife's position and credentials, and they had already been monitoring the situation. Within moments, I drove out to intercept her. My wife, fully aware of Karen's bluff, remained calm, standing openly with her badge and credentials visible. Karen's eyes widened as she realized she wasn't about to manipulate the authorities. The sheriff deputies, now arriving on site, immediately verified my wife's identity and legal authority. Karen's claims evaporated under the weight of the law. "Ma'am," one deputy said firmly, "your claims are unfounded. This is private property, and the individual you are targeting is the chief of police. Your trespassing and false reports are being documented. Step back immediately." Karen attempted to argue, waving her clipboard and shouting about HOA rules. But the deputies weren't swayed. They had verified my wife's credentials, confirmed her legal right to carry a firearm, and documented Karen's trespassing. Karen's arrogance crumbled as she realized she had no leverage, no HOA authority, no legal backing, and now an official record of her misconduct. I calmly approached, making sure to record the encounter. "Karen," I said, "your actions are illegal. Trespassing, harassment, and false reporting are serious offenses. Any further attempt to interfere with my property or my family will result in immediate arrest." By the end of the day, Karen had been formally warned, escorted from the property, and documented for repeated trespassing and harassment. The HOA board was notified of her actions, and her privileges were permanently revoked. My wife remained calm, her authority fully recognized by law enforcement, while Karen's attempt to manipulate the system resulted in public embarrassment and legal exposure. Neighbors who had witnessed the scene were stunned. Karen had believed she could use the HOA to intimidate a law enforcement official. Instead, she faced humiliation, a permanent legal record of her actions, and the loss of HOA privileges. The incident sent a clear message. No one could interfere with my family, property, or licensed authority without facing immediate consequences. Karen had thought calling the cops on my wife would assert HOA control. Instead, she triggered law enforcement documentation, public embarrassment, and permanent revocation of HOA authority, all while my wife and our property remained fully protected. Karen tried to use the HOA to intimidate the chief of police. Instead, she faced humiliation, legal consequences, and permanent loss of HOA privileges, proving once again that rogue HOA members cannot interfere with private property or law enforcement without consequences.